Hi, this is Micornus, Phokane, the leader and the founder of Church Governance Solutions. We are speaking about important principles here that a church leader should take note of. Important principles that as a church leader you must take note of, because these particular principles, they are very important. They are principles that will help you to lead the church and the people within your church, and you will start to see progress in everything that you do. The first principle that we want to embark on today is for you to take note of is that you can fulfill your inherent leadership potential only when you understand who you are designed to be, and also discover the nature of the true leader in you. And this is very, very important. You can fulfill your inherent leadership potential only when you understand who you are designed to be, and also what you need to do is to discover the nature of the true leader in you. Now, it is very important and very pertinent that we emphasize the fact that each and every one of us as human beings, we are born leaders within the confines of the environments that we are in, within the callings and assignments that God has given us. We are bound to become leaders. We are born for that. We've got the potential actually to rise up and show up with our leadership, because God has actually inherently put in that leadership in us. But it's only when you understand who you are and also designed to be. Because remember that when we talk about who you are, we're not talking about your name or clan name or surname or so on. We are talking about knowing your purpose. We're talking about knowing the godly assignment or divine assignment within you that God has inherently invested in you. Well, when you start to know the purpose and what you are here for, why did you show up on earth? When you start to understand that and what you are crafted to do, what you are meant to be, when you start to understand those concepts, then you are going to be able to articulate your inherent leadership. You're going to be able to exhume or even find that leadership that is within you and be able to apply it. But you need to find who you are first, because you have got an inherent leadership in you. You've got that which God has invested in you, and that inherent leadership in you is very key to know that it is actually dormant at the moment, but it can only be active when you are able to see who you are designed to be, and also who the leader, kind of a leader you are, basically by finding your purpose. So this is very, very important. Now, true leadership in you can only come up when you know your purpose. True leadership in you can only be revealed to you when you know who you are designed to be, because leadership should actually be shown up in an area where you're supposed to be, or where God has crafted you to be. And that's very, very important. Now, the second principle that I want you to take a note of, which is very important for you as a leader in the church, is that every human being has a natural inclination for leadership. Every human being have got what we call a natural inclination for leadership. So in other words, there is just inside of you that urge or that passion to become a leader. And particularly because God has put an inherent leadership skill in you, or a leadership trait in you. Because it's very important that you know that you're born a leader, as we have said a bit earlier. But you're born a leader within the confines of your own purpose. I've mentioned that earlier, and I want you to remember that. Now, therefore, because of that, every human being having a natural inclination to become a leader, that is ignited actually by the inner man, who knows that I must be a leader in my own space. So, but you have to identify the space where you're supposed to become a leader, because you cannot just be a leader everywhere. And that's the reason why we think sometimes other people are better leaders than us. No, the reason is just because in their own environment, they are swimming like a fish in water. And I want to urge you to find your own environment as well, or the purpose of your life, because within your own purpose as a leader as well, you're going to swim like a fish. So please don't judge a fish by climbing a tree. No, but judge it by swimming. So in other words, don't judge other people in the environments that are not theirs. So in other words, human being must find their own environment and purpose. They must find their own assignment that God has given unto them. And when you have found the assignment, you are able to swim with that assignment and become the best vision of yourself, because God has aligned you to a certain purpose, and with that purpose God has invested skills and talents that you have, that you may actually be able to discover them up until you discover your purpose, because talents are actually discovered within the purpose. They're discovered within an environment whereby they can be applied and be used. So I want to urge you that you need to take a note that there is this principle that shows you that you have got a natural inclination, particularly in an area of your purpose and your calling. And that's very important. Now, I want to also make you aware about this principle as a church leader, that most of our attitudes about leadership are learned, and they are conditioned response to erroneous ideas fostered by our families generally. And sometimes they are fostered by our cultures, sometimes by the nations where we're coming from. Now, I want to say most attitude about leadership, we learn them from other people. And we have got an attitude to say, I'm not meant to become a leader myself, or I am an introvert, I cannot become a leader. So those are erroneous in nature. And I must really say they are brought about by what we were taught in our families as we grow. As a child, you might have actually seen in the family a certain type of leadership and a certain way of leading, maybe from your father, maybe from anybody who was a leader in the family. And based on that, then you formulate a certain perception in you. And therefore, it develops into a bias within you that you sometimes feel that it is the way it's supposed to be. Now, I want you to see this as well, that as a church leader, generally, you might be actually applying the leadership that you're applying because of the first leader that you admired, or the mentor that mentored you. It could be your pastor has been your mentor, or the first church where you are. You've seen the type of leadership there, and sometimes you learn that leadership, and you find yourself having these biases of seeing leadership in a certain way. And the perception of your leadership, because you've learned it from someone, then you want to actually see things that way, or you want to do things that way, because that's the only way sort of that you believe that leadership should be. Now, when you have learned from other people, I want to say that sometimes it's erroneous way of learning, because you're taking it from other people. We forget that we've got an inherent leadership that is within us, that God has invested in us based on, as I said, the assignment, based on the purpose. But it's very important that you understand that those things that you've just learned, sometimes we respond erroneously to those ideas, and those ideas are fostered basically just by families and cultures, as I've said earlier. So please be careful of that as well, because that might actually make you believe in a certain way about leadership, particularly because you've learned it from someone. Now, the last principle that we want to deal with today, as we wrap up this part 2, is that people's concepts of their origin often influence their ideas about the leadership potential that they have. Now, this is based on where you grew up, is based on who nurtured you and who looked after you, and as you grow. It depends on the family that you grew up in. For you to start believing in the leadership potential in you, it will depend on what influenced you in the past, or who influenced you in the past. There are some of you who went through schooling whereby teachers have told you that you will amount to nothing. Now, because it was a leader or a teacher that is somebody that you look up to, and they've told you that you will amount to nothing, your leadership capacity or even potential is being affected, because you don't believe that you can become a leader. And I want to tell you as a church leader, so please encourage people and make them understand that they are leaders, born leaders, but within the confines of their purpose. So encourage them, therefore, to seek deep and to dig deep and to find what leadership potential they have, and therefore rise up and don't actually succumb to what they believe in based on the families that they grew up from. Because these are things that families could have affected them. They've been influenced by people, or maybe even peer pressure at some stage when they were growing. And then they believe in a certain type of leadership, or that they don't have leadership themselves purely just because they have been influenced by others in the past. I want to end up here today. This was part 2 of this great topic. We speak about principles, of course, that as a church leader you should take a note of, because these are important principles in your life that will make you to become a great church leader. So we are speaking about this because we hope that this will help you. We will be embarking on part 3 tomorrow. But before we check out, we want to remind you of our Facebook page, Micornus Phokane, and the other one that's under Church Governance Solutions. So please like these pages. I want you to just also follow us on these pages. Click notification buttons as well, and you'll find that you will gain a lot out of this. Don't forget our YouTube channel is under Young Men Empowerment Forum. It's under Micornus Phokane as well. So please subscribe to the YouTube channel. Make sure that you click notification buttons as well. And finally, our TikTok account as well, available for you at all times. Make sure that you follow us on TikTok account, and the good Lord will bless you. Till we meet again on part 3 of this great topic, may the good Lord bless you. And allow me to check out right here and say cheers for now.